Good evening and welcome to the May 9th meeting of the PACE Review Committee meeting. Go ahead and call this meeting to order, and we'll start with a roll call. I'm Jim Bartlett.
Steve over here.
Lisa Ferguson.
Kara Fox.
Okay. And we have several pieces of new business. Let me start with just a brief statement, if I may. A week or so ago, there was a letter printed in the Madison Courier which expressed concerns of the PACE program. We welcome concerns as these comments help us review the program each year to improve the rules and make the program better. But in this case, I believe the author has missed the point of the program and feel a need to provide some brief comments. Communities around the nation are faced with the issue of degrading properties, as well as properties that are burnouts or simply abandoned. Many communities have turned to a plan commonly called urban renewal to solve this problem. When they do, the result is they spend big dollars to tear down properties in hopes that someone will come along and rebuild. In the meantime, resulting in open lots, which must be maintained at cost, typically a cost to the community. In Madison, we've chosen a different plan which provides benefits to all citizens. Instead of spending big bucks to tear down old or degraded properties and thus destroy our historic nature of our community, we have chosen to provide a little money via public-private partnerships to incentivize the owners of those properties to invest in them, thus resulting in far better outcomes that would be the result of government-only solutions. Most of our grants go to actual homeowners, and those grants are never more than 50% of the investment. When someone is getting one of the larger grants, it's rarely more than 10% of their total investment, and the overall rate of investment is a 5-to-1 private to public investment. Some of the benefits to the public are unsafe properties are made safe, property values increase, additional housing is developed, and frankly, we have a much better looking community. I speak to visitors to Madison every weekend. They all notice how well kept our community is. This brings back tourists who do business in our stores and restaurants as well as the hotels and B&Bs, bringing many dollars into the local economy. In my view, the PACE program is worth much more than the few dollars we give as grants. There will be a time at the end of the meeting for any additional comments that the public wishes to make. At our next meeting, which will be on July 11th, we will begin to approach the end of our funding for this year. Based on the history of this year, I'd say there's a very good chance that the requests will exceed our funding. So I see a need for us at this time to determine for that meeting, if we do exceed the funding, how we score those applications, because we can only fund up to the amount of money that we have. The last time that we ran out of funding was at the end of last year, and at that time we took the applications that we had received and we funded based on the highest scoring applications. So I would make a motion to the committee that we be consistent in that manner, and at the next meeting, if we do in fact have more applications than we have funding, that we fund based on the highest scoring applications. So that's a motion that I'm making.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so that motion passes. The last piece of new business is a amendment that's been requested in a previously approved application, an application for 212 East Street. Do we have someone here that can speak to that?
Yes, thank you for hearing me. I'm the
executive director of the Jefferson County Youth Shelter, and our former application was to put guttering on the shelter and also to do some point tucking on the shelter. We were able to get the guttering done, so that's been done, and so but our funding, some of our funding has not been there to do the point tucking, and then we've had some issues with the contractor and everything, and so and a couple contractors. So we're just asking that we just go with the gutter guards that have already been replaced on the shelter. That was one of our main concerns with the water coming in the shelter.
Okay. And so your cost on the gutter guards
$7,500.
is $7,500?
Mhm.
Okay. Comments? Questions, concerns? When do you anticipate doing that part of the project?
That's done.
It's already done?
It's done, yes, sir. We submitted pictures of the project being done and the final completion of the project. Because it was something before the spring and all this rain, we needed to get the gutter guards on the shelter. Because
Okay.
we were having some issues with it last year, so we need to do that, and the state asked us to do that too.
All right, so that would reduce the grant award from $7,500, which was the original grant, down to $3,750.
Yes.
Okay.
I will just note for the record, while they've turned in the final report, it has not been submitted for disbursement. It's pending your all's vote on this matter before it goes before the Board of Public Works for that.
I'd make a motion, we accept the amendment.
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Now, again, that still has to go to
Sure.
the Board of Public
Sure.
Works for final approval.
Sure. Well, thank you for the opportunity. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, with that, we'll move on to new applications. And before we get started in new applications, I want to review the process just very quickly with everyone. As we talk about your specific application, we'll have you come up and we'll have questions for you, ask you to discuss your application. If and as the application is discussed, we'll ask specific questions. All projects end up being scored on a matrix that we have, and then based on the scoring of that matrix, there's a minimum score for each type of grant. And if you've qualified for the minimum score, then assuming that the committee votes to move these grants, these applications on that have scored high enough, then they will go before the Board of Public Works. We don't actually approve the grants. We make a recommendation to the Board of Public Works, who then approves the grants for funding. And again, the grant is a refund grant, so you're going to do the work prior to receiving the money. And of course, you can't begin that work until the Board of Public Works gives approval. Although their meeting is next Monday.
Yes, it is next Monday. However, these applications will not be on the agenda until the following
So-
meeting.
So they'll be 3 weeks out
Yes.
before they make the agenda for the Board of Public Works. With that, is somebody here to speak to 319 East Main Street?
Hello, I'm Melissa Prickett. My husband and I own that building.
Okay.
Okay.
Tell us about your project.
Okay, bear with me, I'm filling in for you tonight.
I understand.
Okay,
There's nothing to be nervous about.
okay, we would like to, there's an overhead garage door in the back where the alleys meet at the cross. And it has graffiti on it, it's vinyl, and it's several years old, and it's just, we can't hardly operate it. And we would like to replace that. And our gutters, I don't know if you have all the pictures that I have. They have several holes in them, and we would like to replace those as well. So we applied for a grant for that, so. And I have some samples of the type of the garage door. It's like a, I don't know if you need to see those.
No.
And the replacement overhead door is a different look than what you currently have?
Yeah, it's gonna be like a carriage house. It's gonna look more like it probably would have years ago. And it has a textured aluminum like that. And I think it would go well with that building with the old brick.
So, has that been reviewed with the historic board, or does it need to be? Nicole?
Let me verify that. Give me just a minute, but if you want to ask other additional questions while I'm looking.
Based on the pictures and the description I'm seeing, it looks like your gutter replacement is of like type.
I believe so, yes. Yeah, I think, let's see. They're half-round galvalume gutters with elbows, downspouts, and hangers.
So
Be
that
the same
is-
color too.
So that's a like replacement.
Yes,
So a
sir.
like replacement doesn't need to be approved by Board of Public, Historic Review.
Okay,
I'm concerned about the door.
okay,
The door would need to be reviewed, but it would likely be reviewed by staff, so it's internal. And it would only take 1 to 2 business days.
Okay.
did he submit a picture of that? Do you have that?
He did.
Okay,
It's in the back here. Okay.
and you can see from the inside of the door where there's been graffiti and,
Yeah.
yeah. That alley, there's a lot of activity goes through that alley.
So your your actual project is $19,000 and your request is $7,500.
Yes,
So it's about a 40% request that we have. And, purpose of the, property, that's your all's business, is it not?
yes, we have our Prickett Properties is there. We rent the U-Hauls there, and we also rent the side office, to a small business, Jessica, can't remember her last name, but, yeah, there's 3 businesses there now. Oh, we also sell the golf carts, sorry. So,
Anyone else have questions? Let's see. Okay. Well, if no one else has any questions, I think we've got the information we need.
okay,
So thank you very much.
okay, well, thank you for having me, thanks.
All right, is anybody here to address 510 Mulberry Street?
Devin Sharp. I'm a member of Central Holdings, which owns the property. We've been working on this property since 2020. Started with roof replacement, chimney, tuck pointing, cleaning up that, concrete work, repainting the front black iron. I'm kind of at the point now where I need some help, so, we're gonna repaint the entire exterior of the building, and we are going to, repair all of the windows. They're all wood windows, most of them have storms, so I think we can salvage most of them. Additionally, there was 2 windows completely missing on the 3rd floor, so I've got a quote in the packet for ordering 2 new windows from Glass Unlimited. So I don't think, I did have 2, the basis of the quote from, regarding the repair of the windows, the wood windows, was based on, I had him come out and fix 2 windows to try to get an idea of what he was gonna be getting into. He thinks it's gonna take at least 2 to 3 days on each side of the building to repair each of the wood windows. So that's how he came up with the quote. I imagine it's gonna be more, but, so it'd be repair and replace with the wood, and then repaint all the windows in the exterior of the building.
So at the end of the day, there'll still be wood windows,
Yes, except for the 2 on the 3rd floor, which will be that aluminum clad wood window.
which are the new ones.
Yes, but you won't be able, you can't even hardly see them from the street.
But they're the ones that don't exist today.
Yeah, there's holes there, but there's no windows there. They have plywood there right now, so. So the projected cost is close to 26,000.
And again, the grant request is 7,500.
Yes, sir.
And once this is complete, what will the purpose of that building be?
It will remain the same. It's got 4 apartments in it.
Okay, so it's rentals then?
Yes, sir. So if you're looking at the building, each corner is basically a unit. The ultimate goal is to get rid of the window air conditioners, so, but that's a little bit more costly too, so.
We try and drive by, well, we do.
Mhm.
I can't always remember. Is this visible from just the street or the street and the alley?
Street and 2 alleys, actually.
All right. Thank you.
There's a wooden fence that I put in a couple years ago along the alley.
Any other questions?
No.
We good? Thank you.
All right, thank you for your time.
Okay, 723 East First Street.
That's me. I'm Steve Miner, I own the home.
Tell us a little bit about your project.
Well, it's basically replacement windows that have gone bad over the years. And I'm going with Glass Unlimited, and they're aluminum clad wood is what I'll be using. And there's 1x6 casing around those windows now that are totally rotted. Some of the pictures, I think you can see that. And it's gonna be replaced with composite 1x6. So, and there'll also be, white, just like what was there, but, yeah, going with black aluminum with 3/3 grids, which I was told is appropriate for that house.
And at this stage of the game, do we have a historic board of approval on the,
You know, I spoke to Brooke about that, so I'm assuming Brooke, yeah.
okay. So the total cost on this project is $20,679 and some change?
That's hopefully all it's gonna be.
I understand. All right, and again, you're requesting a grant of $7,500.
Yes, sir.
Now, I know that's visible from First Street. Is there an alley that's visible from as well?
Well, it's on a corner, so, and there is a garage at the end of the lot, so.
Well,
If
it's
you
a
look around
corner,
the garage, you
it's
could see it.
actually two streets there, so.
Two streets, yeah, Clay and First.
So it's every window in the home is gonna be replaced, so.
So without your garage, we could see all those windows.
And that is your residence, correct?
Yes.
Any other questions? No. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, 912 West First Street.
Hello. Van Crafton, 304 Broadway Street.
Sam Reynolds, DuPont.
Okay, so tell us about the project.
So we've got 912, and then the next one on the list is 914. So this is a duplex on First Street that my brother and I just currently bought not too long ago, and it's in pretty rough shape. If you guys have driven by, our city building inspector has deemed it an unsafe property. So we're in the process of getting some previous tenants out of there before we start construction. And so the plan is to completely redo both of the homes into the original footprint of what they are now with approved materials from the historical board. So replacing all the windows with the aluminum clad wood windows, LP smart siding on the side, brand new roof. The back of the property on both sides is where the utility / kitchen is for both of them. And we're hoping we can salvage those, but we may have to completely tear those down, depending on what type of shape they're in once we get inside. If that is the case, then we will rebuild back where that footprint is.
And it appears to me that the house is currently either aluminum or vinyl sided.
I think both.
Oh, a
I
little
I
both?
think parts have been patched for both of those materials, yes.
But you're going back in with composite?
Correct.
And I'm gonna treat these individually.
Okay.
So right now, looking at the first one, which was 912, your total project is estimated at 125,000,
Correct.
and you're applying for a grant of 25,000 on it as a dilapidated structure.
Yes.
And you say you have gotten, the city inspector has deemed that as an unsafe property?
Correct. Yes, sir.
It's got to be forever in it.
Do you have any idea how long they've been vacant?
They're actually both
people
being
living
lived in
there.
right now, and we're going through the legal process. We inherited that when we purchased it.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
I like how you said that.
When you drive by, they look like they'd be vacant.
Yeah,
They should be.
They need to be sooner than later.
and you're gonna stay rentals, right?
That's the plan right now. I believe we're gonna have, I say short-term rental, sometimes that ends up, going a few months. Cause most people come to downtown Madison, they love it, and they wanna stay longer on the weekend, and we encourage that for sure. But yes, the intention is to hold on to them and keep them as short-term rentals.
Any other questions about this first one, 912?
No.
Okay.
It's kind of the same as the next one, I think.
And so now, while you're still up there, let's talk about 914.
Yes, sir. So 914, the exact same, just a mirror image of it, of what we're gonna do to 912.
Any thoughts on how long it's gonna take you to rejuvenate these two properties?
We are hoping right at a year. That's kind of our projection. Of course, that all depends on weather dependent for outside and materials and when we can get them in if they're on back order. But I feel pretty confident we can complete both of them within a year. We'll start on them hopefully July 1, I think we have projected.
Is that what Sam says too?
Whatever
Gotta
she
get
says
the
goes, yes.
tenants out. We gotta get the people out.
Any other questions?
No.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
I will just note for the record, both of those need historic board approval still, so make sure you get with staff before you start construction.
Okay, 315 Mill Street.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Tim Bipes, the owner of the property at 315 Mill Street. The project, my wife and I are wanting to replace all of the windows in the house with the aluminum clad wood windows from Glass Unlimited. Several of the windows have been, from the previous owner, have been made not to open. The pulley systems have been taken out of them. A couple of the windows have cracks in them or pebble or BB holes in them. One window on the alley on Hertz Lane, when there was a kitchen remodel, is a little bit different than the rest of the windows, so we're just trying to make everything the same. do have a certificate of appropriateness from the Historic Board of Review, and the request is for 50% of the cost, and I believe that is 22,000, can't find it here while I'm looking for it, 22,300.
Well, yeah, I do see where the cost of the project is 22,353.
Yes, I just,
Now, this is not the dilapidated structure grant that you're applying for.
okay,
So our maximum grant there is 7,500.
okay, I didn't realize
So
that when we filled out the
7,500
application.
would be the maximum
Okay,
if approved. But it looks like a good project, all in all. Now, is this your all's residence?
yes, it is.
Okay. And you mentioned one of those one or more of those windows being back on the alley.
Yes. I believe there are 5 windows on the first floor and 2 on the second floor along the alley.
Any other questions, folks?
No,
Thank you for your time.
thank you.
Thank you. Okay, 606 West Third Street.
Evening.
Good
My
evening.
name is Jacqueline Fraser, and I own a property at 606 West Third Street. I'm having the house painted, and they will scrape the loose paint, caulk and fill where necessary, take off the storm windows and replace those. And I'm getting a new front door, which is not a standard size door, so they have to put wood on the sides and the top. And the storm door, which is a standard size. And then, they'll paint the whole house, not the gutters, I just had new gutters put on. And repair the fence, but I think Nicole said that she didn't think that was part of the grant program. But the porch railing and some of the, spindles are missing, so they're going to take part of the railing or the posts down and just replace the wood, so it won't be the whole part of the porch.
And have you been approved by the historic board
Yes,
at
for
this
the door,
point?
yes.
Okay.
Is this your residence?
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
I'm just nosy, Miss Jackie. Are you staying with the same colors?
Yes, I am.
I love it. Sweet. I'm struggling with colors. Need to artsy things.
They're gonna do some repair work on the brick as they go along?
They're going to fill in the, where it's, needs caulking.
Where, okay.
I had it painted 10 years ago, but he just painted it, not even painted the whole house.
Mhm.
So there's a lot to be filled in and scraped and things like that.
project as a whole is, been quoted at 22,100.
And I did not know that 75 was the max.
Yeah, 75 would be the maximum grant amount. Any other questions?
No.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Have a good
Thank
evening.
you.
Okay, 1103 West Main.
Hello.
James Benham, and I'm applying for one of your project grants. And I imagine you have a essay of what I'm trying to do. Replace 7 windows and have replace the transom over the 2 doors and rebuild frames for the doors. And let's see, gonna restore a front door and the trim, and I need 2 glass storm doors, full glass, so it'll show the doors, and the windows aluminum wood clad. And was gonna add some gingerbread on the front if I don't run out of money. And let's see, paint all the windows and doors and trim.
And feel like a broken record asking, but do you have approval from the historic board for the changes?
Yes, we do. Went-
Now, is this your residence?
It's a rental,
It's a rental.
yes.
Okay. Any other questions from anyone?
I have one,
Go for it.
and it's a small one, but do we include taking out shrubs?
You can knock that off there. I can
Yeah.
take the shrubs.
Uh,
I missed that one.
Yeah, I
Good
know,
job,
okay,
Steve.
I
didn't
know.
see it.
Okay.
But what was the answer to that? I'd like to know the answer to that one. Maybe you do, but
No.
you
No,
don't.
we don't.
Okay.
I didn't.
We don't.
We don't, I
Okay, good
missed that
enough.
in the list.
I didn't think so.
Okay, I wasn't real sure. But
Is there
it's
an
okay.
alley?
It's okay.
Is there an alley behind it?
There is an alley behind it, and 3 windows are facing the alley.
Okay.
So your project is priced at, $14,653.78. I don't see an itemization on the shrubs.
Oh.
Do you have any idea what that
You can just-
itemization was?
On the shrubs,
Yeah,
can't, just, no, but I don't, did I put shrubs on there?
He put that in with the
Was it?
gingerbread.
Let's see, on the second.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
did
on the
remove those shrubs
gingerbreading.
in the
you
front.
got it included with the I'll tell you what, it's not gonna make any difference on the grant amount.
Right.
So
Well-
we'll remove the shrubs from the description,
Okay,
but it's not gonna make any difference on the, grant amount, because, well,
It's the
actually it
gingerbread.
could. Actually it could. So,
I don't think he's gonna get gingerbreading for $300.
mm,
Yeah, I think it's gonna cover that.
It's gonna be,
okay.
I think it's,
it's gonna cost a lot more.
So your project amount is $14,653.70,
yes, sir.
and you're requesting a grant amount of $7,326.80.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other questions?
no?
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, that brings us to 620 Jefferson Street.
I'm Brooke Newby, the owner of the home. And we plan to do, it needs all new windows. They're all non-functioning, very old, missing and broken glass. We do have approval for those aluminum wood-clad windows. And also there's some, it's all aluminum siding right now. There are some damaged parts. We do plan to replace those with aluminum and then paint the house. It's all kind of discolored, sun damaged, and we'll need new gutters and downspouts. And then just sanding and repainting all the chipped areas around the door frames and windows.
And that's your home?
It's a rental.
It's a rental?
I would hope that, you could do wood instead of aluminum if you discovered
Yeah,
that you
we
could.
do, yeah, we're planning on, if, when we go to kind of replace those damaged areas, if it looks like it's repairable under there, then we'd like to do that.
Right.
Is there an alley behind this one?
Mm-mm.
I didn't,
Just like it's like a private walkway, but it does face Jefferson Street.
How long have you all owned that property, if I may ask?
Probably been about 7 months or so now, 7 or 8 months maybe.
So relatively recent that you all have purchased it.
Yeah.
other questions?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, 760 West Third Street.
Good evening. My name is Emeka Koren. I'm the owner of the house.
So tell us what you're doing.
We want to basically take the paint off of the brick, kind of bring it back to bare brick, mostly on the western wall. On the southern wall probably would like to be done to match. And then there are two, there's the door frame is kind of coming apart. It's a wooden door frame. It'll be put back wood. And then the window on the western wall is basically aluminum. It's flat up against the surface. It's been that way. We've been living there 18 years. It probably, I have no idea why it's that way, but that doesn't seem very historic to me. So we would like to have an ennial put in there, and I believe make it wood framed if possible. But the contractor was not quite sure what happened when he opened up the that aluminum, flashing that's around there. So I think that's kind of an unknown. The moisture, because the way the paint doesn't really let water get out, it's kind of coming into the house. On the inside of the house, there's actually a lot of water damage from whatever water gets into the wall. It just comes right through, and so the plaster, has been eroded away on the inside. And we've had that fixed, but it doesn't really do any good because it just keeps coming in. So we're trying to get the outside done before we replaster the inside.
And are you all planning to do any tuck pointing after you get the paint off?
Yes. So it's taking the paint off. Tuck pointing is the largest part of the project.
And once again, has this been reviewed by the Historic Board of Review?
I don't think it has. I don't think I did that. So I'll have to do that, but we're not really changing anything except for the window that might hopefully be an improvement in the board's eyes.
And this is your home that you live in?
Yes, ma'am.
So the project has been quoted at $18,660.
Yes, sir.
And you're looking for a grant of $7,500.
Yes, sir.
Is there an alley adjacent to that property?
No. Our driveway is just to the west side of it, so there's a bit of a gap in the houses, but that's not an alley. There was a house there probably 100 years ago.
Any other questions?
Would we need,
Oh, sorry.
would we need to ask that this go to the Board of Review?
I would think because of that window in the back, or that window that you're changing the style on, that'll need to be approved by the board.
Yeah, any application that has not already received a C of A for work and needs it, your approval would be contingent on them receiving that prior to construction.
And we do have several of those tonight. All right. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Have a good night.
All right. Do we have someone here to speak to 956 West Second?
Hi, I'm Mary Ann Eaglin. I'm the owner of 956 West Second. My residence.
So tell us about your project.
I may defer to my daughter Nina, who's with me. She can describe it better, I think.
That's fine.
That's fine.
Sure, she could do a fine job, but I will
So, good evening. We have been facing some similar moisture issues at 956 West and have done some sleuthing and figured out that there's numerous factors. We've already made some improvements around a basement window that was part of the issue. And we have found that the chimneys are both leaking and there's some tuck pointing that needs to happen on that west wall. It's the wall that gets the weather. So, the bid you have in front of you is to rebuild 2 chimneys and then tuck pointing, and there may be some, not replacement of windows, but patching of windows, maybe some window seal, depending on what he gets into it.
And the chimneys will be replaced with the same kind? Okay.
And your project has been quoted at $9,600. So you're asking for a grant of $4,800.
Right, my understanding is 50% for the 7,500.
Yep, it's,
About there.
yeah, so that's 4,800. Okay. And this property at 956 West Second. I drove by it, but frankly, I don't remember it well enough. Is there an alley there adjacent to it?
There's not, it's right at the corner of Craigmont and Second, diagonal from the apartment complex they just restored.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's no alley, there's an alley behind the structure, behind the lot. So, but there's no alleys in there.
Right. And is this your residence?
Yes.
Any other questions?
No.
For anyone? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, 700 Green Road. I believe this is our first curb appeal application, is it not?
Yes.
Oh, no, it's demolition,
Oh, is it demolition?
yes.
Oh, and if I'd looked, I would have seen that.
That's curb appeal.
Curb appeal, you're right.
I'll go plant flower seeds out there.
Okay.
we have been advised by Landon Ralston and Mr. O'Neill that the building needs to come down. So we got a bid from a local contractor, and I think you're the only folks that have to say, okay.
Well, again, we make a recommendation,
I guess.
but ultimately, it's the Board of Public Works that approves any grant that we recommend. So this has been deemed a dangerous structure.
And it's vacant? Nobody lives there?
Oh, nobody's lived in that house for 20 years.
Okay. Are you going to donate anything?
There's really nothing.
Nothing to salvage?
In terms of the structure itself, and I couldn't, the roof is still there, right? Are the walls blowing on this thing?
In these pictures, they are. Yeah, you can see better in these
Looks
pictures
like
than ours.
Just haven't gone to the right one.
It's, pretty bad. Yeah, the cracked floors are kind of away
Looks
from
like
the wall.
in
Yeah.
places, there's no floor left in places.
Ceilings collapsed in this part here.
Okay. Any other questions? Steve? Any
No,
other questions?
I'm sorry.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay, 623 Broadway Street.
Uh-oh.
If you would, touch the base of the microphone there. There we
There you
go.
go, yeah.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Julie. I'm the owner of the property.
So give us a brief rundown on what all y'all plan to do here?
I got an unsafe structure letter as well, and I had them come down and look at the project, and it was deemed unsafe, and I did get a certificate of appropriateness for what I plan to do. Right now, I mean, it's a complete demolition, and I'm gonna salvage everything that I can possibly salvage and reuse, which I've done before. And so we're gonna work with the foundation, tuck pointing and stabilizing that area. There's some stone areas that need to be relayed, and a lot of tuck pointing on the inside and the outside. The walls, we'll keep whatever studs are good, but we'll replace those and sheathe and paper it. And the demolition, of course, was maybe before some of all that, but, and then the roof. The property's set vacant for, since 2016, and before that, I've lived in the neighborhood since, 2000, and I don't think it's had heating and air in it for a long time, so there's quite a bit of damage.
And what are you going to use it for?
I'd like to have a family member move in, is what I'm thinking, but it's
Like
kind of down the road.
a permanent residence then?
Yeah.
Okay.
And your estimated project here is $150,000?
When in completion, like everything done.
So basically, you're gonna be tearing it down and rebuilding it as is.
Maybe
Maybe not to
we'll keep
the-
what, not all the way to the ground. I mean, the foundation will stay, it needs to be repaired. It's got a lot of damage, but, we'll keep what's good.
Mhm.
But, we've already, done a lot of the demo, and there's a lot more damage that we've uncovered, so. But it'll keep the same footprint that it currently has.
And you got full approval from the historic board?
I talked with Brooke, and yes,
Okay.
she's,
Is there an alley?
there is behind the lot, behind the house.
Any other questions?
No.
Are we good?
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Okay, and our last property is 309 East Third Street.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is John Riddick. I own the property at 309 East Third with my wife. We purchased that in July of 2020. It's a row house, original single family, was cut up into 2 units at some point in time in its history. And we've recently submitted a rehabilitation grant to address the east side of the building, the brick portion only, which desperately needs tuck pointing, painting, and restoration. The project quote is at 9820, so we're asking for half of that, 4910. And the project has not been approved by or reviewed by the historic board as far as I know. No significant changes to the facade at all. They retain the original structure.
Correct me if I'm wrong, if he's doing like for like, should be good to go, should he not?
Yeah, as long as nothing changes with the application, project scope, he does not need a historic board review.
Very good. The only thing I see in your worksheet that I have questions on is the gate on the sidewalk. We don't typically do fencing or that. That's
Okay.
520. That would knock your task, your budget down to 9,300.
Okay.
And of course, it would change the grant finances slightly.
Sure.
I'll let Nicole do the math on that.
4650, man.
4650.
That's in my head. We need Nicole.
4650 pending Nicole's agreement with the calculator.
Sounds right.
Okay. So is this your residence?
Eventually, right now, the property is not inhabitable. We're renovating the interior as well. I mean, I shouldn't say it's not totally inhabitable. I'm staying there tonight, but it's not pretty. The eventual plan is for this to be a part-time residence for me. I teach up at the college and commute in now. And then the other unit is likely to be either short or long-term rental.
It's been too many days since I've driven over there, so is it on the alley and the street?
There's an alley, but one house over. So between our house and the alley, there's one property there.
I guess the question here is the project visible from the alley?
Oh, from the alley, no. It's visible as you travel west on 3rd Street towards Jefferson.
Any other questions? Steve?
No.
All right.
Thanks.
Very
Thank you
good.
so much.
Thank you very much.
Sorry.
We can do that. Sir?
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Robert Schwartz. I wrote the letter that you referred to earlier in the Courier a few weeks back. I apologize if my letter came across as doubting the benefits or value of the PACE program. That was absolutely not my intention. I fully support the PACE program and helping the community improve itself. I live a few blocks that way. It benefits all of us in the room. My only concern, and the reason I wrote the letter, is to protect you from somebody taking advantage of your generosity. Let's pretend the following scenario happens. An owner of a dilapidated structure applies to you for a grant. He puts up $25,000, you put up $25,000, he does some work on the house. He sells it for $50,000. He takes that $50,000 and he moves to Florida. So part of the money is his, but part is yours. And part of that came from taxes, so it's a misuse of tax money. And part of it is simply he's removing your money from the community. Whereas all of us, we want that money to benefit the community. So my only question is, how do we prevent that scenario from happening?
Well, my initial reaction is that as a practical matter, when a dilapidated structure comes before us, inevitably the applicant is putting no less than $100,000 into it. Typically, they're putting more in terms of $300,000 or more into it by the time their project is complete. And I understand what you're saying, and the only thing that would prevent that from happening, quite frankly, is the simple practical aspect of being able to complete a project for $50,000. It's simply impractical in today's financial world, given the conditions that are necessary for it to be deemed a dilapidated structure in the program that we're running here. I'm sure you observed today the vast majority of the applicants we had today were actually homeowners that intend to live in the property. We do occasionally have somebody come before the board that is repairing a dilapidated structure, and their intent is to flip it. And they're honest with us. They tell us that's what their intent is. But when we look at the overall project, and again, no monies are given out until the project is complete. When we look at the overall project, inevitably, they're putting $250,000, $300,000 into the project. Now, we had a couple here that they're going to be putting $100,000 into the project, and they're both dilapidated structures, but they're also going to use one as a residence and one as a rental. So, you know, the purpose of the property comes into play there as well. And by the way, our scoring does consider the purpose of the property when the property is complete. So somebody who intends to live in that property does get a higher score than somebody who's going to rent it out or someone who's going to flip it. And the minimum scoring has been tightened up this year, so it's more difficult to reach that minimum score. Now, the truth of the matter is, most of the projects that come before us have been vetted well enough by staff before they ever come before us that the scenario you're describing would be pretty well eliminated before it ever came before us. But again, we pretty well know what the purposes of those properties are before we ever do the review. However, the review is important because we want to hear from the property owner what they're doing with it, how they're doing it, and that they've considered the materials they're using, and so on.
Thank you. I didn't know any of that. I just simply read the article that was in the paper and thought, wait a minute, there's the potential for somebody to abuse this process.
You know, none of us will tell you that the process is perfect, and that's why annually we review the project as a whole and make adjustments to the rules and the requirements.
Thank you. I am grateful that you explained that to me because I didn't know any of that. And I just have one more last question, then I'll let you go.
Certainly.
What percentage of PACE money comes from taxes and what from donations by individuals or foundations or other sources?
Good question. So currently, all of our all of our income is from some sort of tax levy. There's about 100,000 from the city council appropriations, 300,000 from TIF, tax increment financing district allocations, and then we have 45,000 provided by the Jefferson County commissioners through one of their funds as part of our interlocal on the jail project.
Well, thank you for helping me understand better and allaying my concerns. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have the scoring ready if you are. Project at 319 East Main Street scored 29.75. All but one have a minimum score of 36, and when I get to that one, I'll mention that other minimum score. Project at 510 Mulberry Street scored 37.75. The project at 723 East First Street scored 37. The project at 912 West First Street scored 36.5. The project at 914 West First Street scored 37. The project at 315 Mill Street scored 39.75. The project at 606 West 3rd Street scored 38.25. The project at 1103 West Main Street scored 33.25. Project at 620 Jefferson Street scored 28.75. Project at 760 West 3rd Street scored 36.25. The project at 956 West 2nd Street scored 35.25. The project at 700 Green Road has a minimum score of 25, scored 25.75. The project at 623 Broadway scored 41.5. And the final project at 309 East 3rd Street scored 28.5.
So I would entertain a motion to approve those applications that met the minimum scoring pending any necessary approval from the historic board.
I'll second that motion.
I was offering to let someone else make the
sorry.
motion.
Can I make the motion that we approve any of them that met the score pending approval of the historic board if needed?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So motion passes.
I'd like to just make a comment. I think that the PACE program is about as good an example of a public-private, which Jim discussed in his opening statement, as you're gonna find. The bang for the buck is unbelievable. You know, the things that have been accomplished through this program, just unbelievable to me, and I'm a rookie on the committee along with Lisa, but, I'm proud to be a member of this committee.
Here, here.
Thank you.
So Nicole, that was 8 that passed then? Is that what I have right?
4 did not meet the minimum. I counted that up earlier.
Oh, I forgot the 25 one, sorry, okay.
Do we have our next meeting, by the way, I mentioned it earlier, but I'll mention it again. Our next meeting is July 11th at 5:30 here in City Hall.
Can I make a motion to adjourn?
You can make that motion if you will.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now, do we need to stay and figure out the names?
I'm sorry?